God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 39 of Your Journey Is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey, and to Your Journey Is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. Well, I wanted to jump back into my own personal journey, back to my 15-year-old self, the young old version of me. But after talking a couple of hours to my spiritual team and then praying, I'm being led to fast forward for just a bit. The blessing in my life and in sharing my journey is that I can fast forward to more recent times. But in real life, one can never rewind, get a do-over. But God does allow so much grace, moving forward to correct our past. I don't even like to say make up for what we have done wrong. In my mind, how does one make up for past mistakes? Or premeditatively, knowing and with sound mind, there again, free will, doing the devil's work. In my mind, okay, the only way I guess people call make up is to repent, ask for forgiveness, and correct their behavior moving forward. Learn, grow, and change your mindset, your perspective. Again, most important, your actions and your behavior. So, with that being said, I was stumped on where to begin because there is just too much I want to share and to relate to others that I am sure, somewhere in this world endured the exact same things. As I said in my last episode, I'd went through my husband's illness and death. By the way, you don't know true heartbreak, true hell, true pain until you endure watching your spouse, your true love, the one person who sees you, hears you, knows every detail about you and relates and loves you unconditionally, slowly die every day. Bathing that person, being made to do all of the last of their lives, last bath, last haircut, last bed changing, the last night and hours of their lives, and then having to, for the good of your spouse, talk them into surrendering and letting go and releasing and going out of this earth. My husband had told me that the only reason I will fight is for you. And knowing this made those last hours, those last minutes excruciating, because then I was forced to calmly reassure him that I was going to be fine, even though inside everything in me wanted to beg him, please don't leave me here. Inside, I was feeling like that scared little girl that lived in the unknown every day of my life. Abandoned all over again, left behind again. I couldn't let my husband know my true feelings. So to have to talk him out will always be one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. And again, I know there are so many people that can relate to this. No matter the how, when we lose a loved one, their death takes a piece of our soul with them. And Queen Elizabeth said it best, the price of love is grief. So after his death, I have children and grandchildren and others that I had to be strong for. And anyone that has experienced the loss of a spouse already knows that their death is truly just the beginning of the many mountains yet to climb. Planning their funeral, grave plots, obituary. And with it being the final acts for our loved ones, we make sure everything is how they wished, everything they requested, and wanted. Every detail and everything is perfect for them. A lot of pressure, right? Because it is the final acts that we can do for our loved ones. Our final expression of love. And again, I had been through so much in my life. And finally, I had the love, the husband I had wanted my whole life, my fairy tale. So his loss rocked me to my core. But there again, anyone on the outside couldn't tell. I was conditioned starting at a very early age to express my heartbreak, my pain, when I'm alone. I learned early on, actually, thanks to my mom, not to show any vulnerabilities, cracks in my armor to just anyone, because so many people feed off of those vulnerabilities and they use them to somehow, some way hurt me. Twist the knife in a little deeper. Do you know how many people in my life I've walked away from actually laughing and shaking my head, asking myself, why did that person feel the need to throw a dig? A quick innuendo, a passive aggressive comment is what I call it now. Comments with malice, with intent in their heart to hurt me. Surely so many people looked ridiculous to me because I caught it every single time, even though I smiled through it. Those just showed me their true selves. The mask slipped or it cracked for a moment in time. And those would be people that I truly cared about too, and was under the impression they cared about me. People I've helped when no one else was there. People I've helped off of the edge of the cliff and pulled them back up, dusted them off, and made sure they had what they needed, such as money, food, gas, cigarettes, jobs even, and never asking anything in return except for friendship. Another childhood trauma of mine, people don't save me because they don't see me when I need to be pulled off of the edge of the cliff. When I'm starving or I'm in need of anything, I handle that and have my whole life alone. I do my breaking down and my healing alone. And as my spiritual advisors have told me many times, thank God above. The reason they say that is because if I hadn't have done my healing along my journey, just imagine what kind of person I could have become, unhealed completely. And according to the statistics, because of my childhood trauma alone, the sexual abuse, mental and emotional abuse, technically no father until I was 12 years old, pretty much living completely alone and starving at 10 years old, relying on school lunch alone just to survive. With all of the abuse, the abandonment, knowing that I was unloved and unwanted, I was a mistake. By the way, God don't make no mistakes. But if I would have believed everything my mother projected onto me, I could have turned out to be a monster or mentally ill or on tons of medication or addicted to some hard drugs just to cope. I could have ended up so many different ways. Evil hearted, bitter, envious, jealous of those that had what I like to call a normal life, vindictive, not happy for others, miserable, promiscuous, which again, by the way, I have never been. And I attribute that to my sexual trauma. It had a reverse effect on me than it did some. But I could have turned out again so many different ways. And again, because of trauma. Some run from their traumas, mask themselves, and go through life again running and not dealing with their trauma, not healing, pretending. I've always thought that would be exhausting, never being able to own your stuff. Own your life, heal yourself, because that ain't cool. Or you might not fit in with the crowd or impress your village with who you truly actually are. Who you truly are under the illusion or mask others choose to wear. Again, thank God I have throughout my life learned to heal myself so that I would not go out into this world and project all of that anger, bitterness, and negative energy onto innocent people. Those people aren't who hurt me. It's not others' fault, the cards I was dealt in my life. And I've always believed it's not the cards dealt to us, it's how we play the hand dealt. Because I have learned to heal myself, deal with my trauma, my bad choices, my bad decisions, my own mistakes, own my own personal stuff. I can then show up with love, light, and understanding, with compassion, and not praying for others' downfalls. I leave all of that to their village, their own crowd. I swoop in when no one else is around and do my magic, my pep talks, my saving them from suicide, from total destruction, my helping when they need a true friend. As they say, each and every person that talks the most crap about you or tries to destroy you or your reputation in any way at all are most likely people that you have loved and helped in some way or another. People that you were nothing but kind to. Truly, if people would ask the people doing the most projection why they don't like me, for instance, truly, I don't think any one of them could give a valid reason. I don't betray. I don't backstab, steal, sleep with my friends' men. I'm not sneaky at all. I'm too darn blunt to be sneaky. And I'm not two-faced by all means. Again, I think it, I say it. And depending on who, depends on my delivery. And truly, because I've endured so much hell through my life, that is, my brother would always say to me, when you do get mad, sis, it takes a lot, by the way. You're like a bull. You're fearless. And enduring and healing myself has allowed me to show up for others, have confidence in myself, walk with purpose and compassion, help others if even a little chit chat, a smile, a kind word, inspire them to believe in themselves. One thing people have lost the concept of is time. Time is precious, and if anyone takes the time to help me, I stay forever grateful. Whereas I've noticed in today's society, things that you do, time that you give others, when you could have just easily walked away and saved your time, your energy, your efforts, and your breath. But nowadays, it's taken for granted. It's no longer appreciated, it's expected. And then when one serves the purpose, no matter what that purpose may be, those very same people I helped would be the first one to put a knife in my back the second I turn around. Stuff like this has happened my whole life. No matter what I did, gave, inspired, helped in whatever way, somehow I've always been made out to be a villain in those exact people's story. Mind-boggling to me, yes, but it has never stopped me, changed me, or defined who I am or how I continue to show up for others. Have I understood it? No, never. Couldn't have wrapped my head around it because my heart stays grateful for every single act of kindness ever displayed to me. Those many people along my journey did not have to be kind to me, but they chose to. Life is about choices, and now, after my spiritual awakening, I begin to see things and people a lot more clearer. Let's just say the veil is thin, and no mask can disguise who others truly are beneath the facade. Truly, I felt like I had to begin and say all of that before I begin to tell you how my spiritual awakening all began, and also how hard the devil or devils have truly worked to destroy me. I will always say my spiritual awakening was something the devil himself has tried to stop my whole life. The devil knew if that day ever came, I was going to bust hell wide open. My spiritual awakening rocked the gates of hell and all that reside in hell and all that worship the devil. And the devil knew I was going to destroy his loyal, faithful army, one by one. So I was born for this. I signed up for this before I was ever born. I was made for this, made by God Himself, anointed and appointed by God Himself. As they've always said my whole life, I'm one of a kind, trademarked. So as you can imagine, when my spiritual awakening began, the devil came full force, and I had to do a crash course on dark witches, dark warlocks. Yes, that stuff is real. Just as I'm anointed and appointed by God, just like a lot of us light workers, well, there are just as many that are anointed and appointed by the devil too. Those demons that do the devil's dirty work would also have to do a craft course and learn some lessons as to be very careful who you lie on. Who you slander, do your witchcraft on, the spell work, the voodoo on, humiliation rituals, beauty spells, even death spells. I call it their kitchen magic, water magic, moon magic, graveyard dirt magic. I have told those demons that came after me, I'm protected by God Himself, and ignorance or desperation overtook their common sense. I can't be touched, and sadly, those did not believe my warnings and are now having to learn the hard way. Everything and every lie, slander, and spell work return to cinders. When you're a light worker, a healer, and you do God's work, the devil himself can't touch you without God's permission. And God is absolutely not going to give permission to the devil, nor sell one of his faithful and loyal children out. The world will sell you out in a quick heartbeat, but God doesn't work like that. He's not a sellout or a backstabber or a deceiver. Like the Bible says, no man can curse what God has blessed. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's John 10, verse 10. Also, no weapon formed against you shall ever prosper. That's Isaiah 54, verse 17. But it did not say the weapons will not be formed, but they surely will not prosper. And one of my favorites, the truth will prevail always. And ending today with another thing my grandma always said, tell the truth, shame the devil. And then she would say, the truth shall set you free. The next episode will be the beginning of my spiritual awakening and all that transpired after. It's a journey, let me tell you. And if I hadn't have had to go through it, endure it, see it and hear it with my own 2 eyes and ears, and live it, it would be an experience that would be hard to believe myself. As I've said several times through my podcast, only me. This stuff could only happen to me. Now I understand all of it, and hopefully, when I break it down and explain it and tell you all about my recent journey, it will help others to make sense of similar things that have happened to them. It's all about understanding the journey, not trying to make sense of it yourself, but with God and the trust and the faith in our Creator. In due time, He makes sure we get clarity and understanding. Trust God, He's got a plan and a purpose for each and every one of us. Some are leaders, healers, light workers, and some are people that set an example of exactly who we don't want to be like or become. We all serve a purpose, one way or another. Also, I do want to add today, we are all created equal and given free will. So life is all about choices, right? Be cautious about your choices and what choices one chooses. Just because someone else chose a totally different path does not make anyone better than. That's society. That's not God, okay? But be good with your choices. Don't go years down the road projecting on others because of choices they made and wishing you had made the same choices as someone else. Hating others because they stayed the course and you took a shortcut. Own your stuff. Stop projecting. And don't hate me because I made choices based on my life, not others' lives, not my crowd, not the village, not my friends. I made my own choices just like everyone else did. Instead of hating others and projecting, take a good long look in your mirror and project, dissect, take ownership. It's called accountability. Onto the only person that made those choices in your life. That would be you. Why should others be hated for choices you yourself made? Again, it's called free will. This concludes my podcast for today. Please join me Thursday, listen in, and always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.